Hello, everyone. I'm Karissa Dunham. I am your host on Shining Light on Minnesota. Today, we have a wonderful guest with us here today, Heather Willems. Welcome, Heather.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You bet. So let's get started and tell our viewers and tell me a little bit more about Two Line Studios and how that all came to full fruition.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
You bet.
Two Line Studios, we're a creative problem-solving firm.
Okay.
So we work with organizations to help them to clarify complex ideas, to bring, we really bring clarity through creativity. So everything we do has a basis of visual storytelling to it. So whether you are doing, a visual strategy session, you're trying to come up with a big idea around, new innovation ideas, or you're making a transformation in your business, that's where we can come in to either help facilitate those conversations and that, progression through workshops. And then we also do something called graphic recording, which is very much in support of clarifying those big ideas.
For sure. For the people that don't know, maybe explain a little bit about what graphic recording is, and then we'll kind of show them some examples too.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
Yeah, very good. Well, graphic recording is kind of the basis of where I started my career back in 2005, I think.
Long time. Fun.
Right out of art school, I started facilitating, and there was this opportunity to listen to conversations in a business setting and draw what people were saying.
Wonderful.
So as I have an art background, so I have a master's of fine art in photography, but I started listening to those conversations and just mapping out what was being said in the room. And I saw this incredible transformation in people when they saw that their voices were heard, that their thoughts were understood, and where they thought there was conflict, when it was drawn up visually, they recognized that maybe they were more the same than different.
Right.
So to answer your question,
Yeah.
what is graphic recording? I think I'm a little excited and just warming up here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So graphic recording is, you might see it in a conference or in a meeting, but it's when we're up at the front of the room with a giant whiteboard and markers, and we are listening to the conversation and drawing what's being said in real time. So essentially, we're taking visual notes of a meeting to create a real-time session summary. So when the conversation stops, we're pretty much done.
Wow.
And it's a snapshot of everything that was said during that meeting.
How do you find that people, obviously when you're supposed to be listening, it's great to draw, take notes, do things like that. When people are in a session or they're dealing with conflict, how important, or what do you find it's very important for them to see what's going on too, just to kind of get that visual aspect of it?
Yes. So is the question more around
either one? Yeah. Do you find that once they see what's going on and they understand it, they can see the big picture, their brain works a little bit more different than just listening to it or trying to hear it?
Yeah. Well, I'll talk about it from the listening as a learning modality.
Absolutely.
First.
Yes. So
we're all the same, but we're all so different. You've got your introverts, you've got your extroverts, you have people who are, have a wide spectrum of neurodivergent learning.
Yes.
And so we learn in different ways, and we have different, we can kind of favorite different types of learning sometimes.
Right.
Some people I'm an auditory listener. Or I'm an auditory learner.
Okay.
I learn, I will take in all of the podcasts and all of the audiobooks, and that's how I love to learn.
What you love to do, yeah.
Other people need to read everything, and they have a photographic memory. Other folks, there's always there's always the person in the back of the room that's pacing back and forth with the coffee or the Diet Coke.
Multiple things at once.
Right.
Yep.
They might be the kinetic learner.
Yep.
And when we combine all these things, these different modalities of learning, we're listening, drawing, we're moving, or we're seeing something come to life visually, it multiplies the ability to take in information and to increases that way of understanding.
Right.
And when you bring in emotion through storytelling or, some of the capturing some of the jokes that are being said,
Right.
in the room.
Easier stuff. Yeah.
Or even like the water cooler conversations, like those side conversations. You're like, noted.
Interesting.
How am I going to work in those visuals?
Right.
It magnifies the way that people remember information.
Right.
So when you revisit some of the visuals that we create after the meeting, people are not only seeing themselves and seeing their ideas in the work, but they're also remembering. I think it was like 65% greater memory retention was one of the studies shown.
Yep.
But they're not only remembering just the content, they're remembering the experience of learning.
The feeling of it too. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And being in communion with other people, like learning and being together.
Yeah.
In that process.
It's amazing to think about like, okay, this is, you get on a conversation and you get very, what's my next question? What's my next thought? Like you're listening to answer and not really to fully engage and understand. Then when you see that image or take back the full recording, the visual aspect of it, you're like, I didn't even know that was happening on the sidelines, or I didn't know that this process comes up. So I've seen that happen as well. Like you get so narrow-minded that you don't see the big picture.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really interesting too. Like we get so focused on what we want to say next.
Yep.
That we forget to ask the questions, or we forget to actually listen.
Right. And that's the big part. Like you want to be intentional. You want to fully understand both sides or what all is going on. Let's take a minute and just take a step back and think about it too.
Right. And that's one of the things. So right now we work digitally, but we also work analog. And right now, I think because everything's moving so digital, so technical with the AI and everything,
yep.
that there's kind of a resurgence of having us physically in the room. And I think the great value and benefit that comes from somebody being present in the room, visually taking the notes, is that we're demonstrating deep listening.
Right.
We're demonstrating what it looks like to be completely immersed in the conversation and let everything else go. So with that, I think psychologically, it gives people permission to listen themselves because we are capturing everything, so they don't have to be worried about jotting everything down.
Right.
But I think it also invites people to literally step back and see the big picture of like what's happening in that space and what other people are saying.
Which makes a good point to like talking about the AI.
Yeah.
With the way everything's going, like it would be easy to, in the future, take a conversation that was recorded or speaking or whomever, whatever it was, and plug it into AI and say, hey, okay, recap this the best you can visually for me. But when you're actually there and honing in and being a person and letting them see the whole process, that's a totally different ballgame.
Yeah. I continually test all of the platforms to do what I do.
Right. You do, but you're a person, and that's the one thing that they don't have, It's being there.
Yes, and it's not quite, I think one day my job will be replaced by AI. I think it will. I'm okay with that because there's a lot of other
things you can do,
human things that we can do. It's not quite there yet, though. It might create one visual, like overarching visual, like the beautiful visuals that you create in your space that kind of visually tell the picture. But what we're bringing into it as humans being in the space, we're capturing the moments that have the most emotional energy,
like an aha moment or whatever it may be.
And we're also capturing words and pictures. I don't know if I mentioned that, but we'll like a reporter. We're listening for those like big ideas.
Yep.
We're capturing that in text. We reinforce it with the image, and then we'll add details where you can take action items around it. So the big ideas, I think that I love Fathom. Like when I'm on calls, I use it all the time. But it's not necessarily capturing the emotion, like where that emotion is, or like something, I just came back from South by Southwest, and human connection and listening was a theme that I kept hearing throughout. And I heard about the pause. So it's like in AI right now, where we're at, it will capture a transcript of what we're saying, and you can summarize that transcript. but it might not necessarily recognize that important pause.
Right.
And the interpretation that we as humans read into that and fill into the blank during those moments.
Well, the other side of it too, with the AI and with the pause, with everything, is you can't see how they're feeling. So what's read AI-wise might be taken a totally different way than the way it was meant to go. Instead of just a nice communication chat about what's going on in the world, could be taken totally political or whatever way AI wants to take it that day.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. It's like text messaging,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely. There's no emotion behind
just like,
it.
Pick up some groceries. And you're like, why are you screaming at me? I'm like, I'm just excited.
Right? Here's my emojis afterwards so you know I'm happy, right?
Exactly.
When it reads it right, yes.
Right. So
how did you get into all of this, and where did you get started wanting to get in and dig deeper in that world?
Apparently I had been doing this since high school, although I hadn't remembered until someone pointed it out to me. But after graduate school, I have a master's degree in photography.
Got it.
So I was going along the path of academia.
Got it. Yeah, absolutely. Right. I'm going to do this.
Taught you have to be a professor in order to be an artist, and a lot of opinions on that. But as I was professoring, so I was teaching, I was also working at a bar to make ends meet and having exhibition down the street. And so I found myself in the bar that I worked at, listening to conversations and sketching them out on napkins. And then I would take them back to my studio and make these big murals out of it.
Fun.
Yeah, big murals, like you're doing too, but they were made out of like words and text. If you remember, like those images from the 60s where they would use the fonts to take the shape of.
Or when you have a book cover back in the day, like just drawing on it, like as someone's talking, like this is my chemistry book. I'm going to do the bubble letters and the words and do things that fully incorporate what it is. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I was making these murals, I was making these paintings and bringing them to the art gallery. I tried to sell it to somebody who was sitting in my section at the restaurant. Oh, no. And they said, wait, you listen to conversations and make them into giant murals? And I was like, yeah, you should buy one. They're $500. And like, do you want a job? And I was like, yes, I am serving you martinis with a master's degree. I would very much like a job. So the next, I don't know when, I called him the next morning and set up an interview. And it was at Capgemini, which is an IT consulting firm. And within that consulting firm, there's something called the Accelerated Solutions Environment. And they have a whole methodology called the M.G. Taylor methodology that they use for creative, collaborative, and innovative learning together. And so the graphic recording, which they called scribing, was just one tiny element of it. And since I was the quote-unquote artist, they had me do that. And that's where, when I started out the conversation, I saw this magic happen.
Nice.
That these folks who I just, the light was turned on.
Right. It's like,
right?
Boom, here's my moment. Yeah.
I just saw them come to life. It was like, oh my gosh, someone understands what I'm saying. Someone hears what I'm saying. I'm in conversation with a colleague who I thought I was in conflict with, but we're actually aligned around a common idea. We're just trying to look at it differently.
Yeah.
So that was outrageously powerful to me. I took this, saw this thing that I took for granted, this thing of like listening, like deeply listening and, just making doodles of like conversations that people had. But I saw that in a different context, it had such a powerful impact. So fast forward, I was, learned all of my facilitation and different methodologies when I was in that space and carried that forward throughout my whole career. But in 2008, when the economy tanked, I thought, I wonder if I just did this drawing thing. Maybe I could just do this drawing thing.
Just try it, right?
Let's just build a website and, I just tried it. And actually, and so my first company was called Image Think. And so I did that with my best friend at the time. And so we didn't know how to talk about this because we were artists.
Right. I can show you, but I don't want to.
Exactly.
I don't know how to explain it.
I didn't go to business school. I didn't I learned business.
This is just my drive. This is my why. This is what I do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we're just like, okay, we need to show people, just like the Cinnabons, like you walk into the mall and you smell the Cinnabons. Like we need to show people what we're doing in order for them to understand it. So I heard of this conference called South by Southwest. I thought it was just for music. No.
Yeah.
They also have an interactive track. So I actually, very guerrilla style, flew down to Austin.
I'm going.
Brought a board, to the front of Ballroom D, which I just was in all, last week.
Very cool.
And just started drawing for a talk. And from there made friends, I guess, with the people at South by, and then did that for about 6 years.
Nice.
So anyway, my first business was about 10 years in New York City. We had locations in San Francisco, New York, and then during the pandemic, decided to move to Minneapolis, focus on family, start Two Line Studios, and so now I get to be a lot more selective instead of having a big team where we were serving all over the world. Now I get to focus on Minnesota.
What's important, kind of back
to
what you need to.
I get to focus on like the areas. And choose more of a lifestyle business and focus on family and doing good work for good people.
Yeah.
For good reason.
And what do you find that you've kind of been driven towards here in Minnesota? Kind of what projects and what products have you looked at and been a part of, and what do you see in the future?
Yeah, well, we talked a little bit about the different organizations that we're part of here.
Absolutely.
So it's really like supporting those organizations here and, excuse me, trying to bring that compassion into leadership through these different associations is one way that I'm really excited about serving here. And then also doing a lot of work with McKnight and CERTS. So really around this like clean energy has been an area that I've really been excited about working here.
There's so much growth and opportunities in Minnesota that people don't see and don't understand that are actually here. When you're out in some of the bigger cities, the New Yorks, the Chicagos, Miami, wherever it is, it's all just a grind. But then you come back and you're like, that's actually happening here in Minnesota too. Like,
absolutely.
Just on a different scale. Have you found that when you do go to different places, when you're doing your drawings, doing your recording, everything like that, obviously people are on all different paces and levels that they're at. How do you adapt to what they want to see and what they're expecting, and how do you get your inspiration when you go into those different places?
I think it all comes back to listening.
Yep.
We're really there to reflect what's being said in the room.
Yeah.
So before we do any sort of engagement, whether it's, capturing the keynotes at a giant conference or, working at a company retreat, like mapping out a strategy.
Yep.
We're always talking about, we're always connected with the folks who are, have the stake in the game, the key stakeholders,
right.
like
for sure.
Bring out what their goals and objectives are for the session, like what they really want to bring. So sometimes folks have a very, if we're going into a pitch, and we're working with an agency that's pitching a new idea, they really have a clear idea of the value that they want to get across.
Yes.
So I'm going to be integrating both the conversation that's being had in the room with that team, and then also like what they need to communicate.
For sure.
And then in other situations, there is absolutely no script. It is just, we are just going to, discuss the elephant in the room, and we're turning off all the cameras. We're turning off all, the microphones and everything. And sometimes I'm the only person like taking a record of what's being said in those sessions.
Right. How does it, once they're done with the conversation and you're there, do you do a presentation? Do you leave it for them? What's the next steps, and what's the process that you take?
Well, I love when I have the opportunity to explain what my brain did.
Yeah,
right? In that session.
Yeah, it's exciting.
And sometimes I'm facilitating, and we have, one of the other graphic recorders from our team there. Yeah. So it's really a really great reflection, because sometimes people are so immersed in the conversation. We were talking about this before we started, we forget what we said. Like, what happened today?
Right.
So it's nice to revisit it in the moment, to be like, oh yeah, I do believe that. Yes, I do agree with that. Yes, I do sign up for that. Then we all, we will display them throughout the entire session. So people can, at the end of the meeting, there's just like we're in this room right now, surrounded by this beautiful artwork.
Yep.
They're surrounded by all of their big ideas
Right.
at the end of the session, very similar to this.
For sure.
And then we digitize everything.
Nice.
And so sometimes we bring it back to the studio and we will create a journey map. I'm so inspired, like being in your space. Like we'll create a journey map of like, what are the next steps? Like, what are the hills that we need to climb? What's this mountain that we need to, reach the summit of?
Or where's the plateau? Yeah.
Right. And sometimes we will print it out on vinyl and have it up in their conference rooms and have it up in their space. So they're reminded on a daily basis.
Here's the roadmap.
Right. Here's the roadmap. This is how we're getting there. These are the conversations we have. So sometimes we'll take it there. Other times we'll digitize it. People can print it out on placards. So they're displayed on their desk, or maybe they'll make I saw upstairs you have these beautiful glass printouts.
Yes.
So sometimes I've seen clients use that before. Nice. So just so they can display it and keep it up and have this memory of not only the learning and the alignment that they had, but also, like you said, like this roadmap of where they're going in the future.
How, when you're out there, this is an interesting question, because I know a lot of our designers kind of get in a slump too. How do you refresh yourself and get creative again and restart and get out there to refocus?
Great question. Great question. I mean, inspiration's everywhere, right?
Yeah.
For me personally, I'm so inspired by my daughter. She's 8.
Fun.
Like,
like her mind's going.
Constantly like repurposing the plant into, a jungle or whatever, a stick is everything.
Yep. Well, and wrapping paper or a box.
Oh my gosh.
They could be creative with that for years and years. It's like, why did I buy something when you have all the needs you need right here?
Exactly. So I'm constantly inspired by her. And my husband, I mentioned he's a muralist and a sign painter. So constantly inspired just in our daily lives, but also from nature. But then I think, outside of that, I just got back from, I mentioned, I was just, I am so inspired being in spaces where people are thinking big and sharing trends and sharing new ideas and, sharing their research, studies, having really big conversations and difficult conversations, storytelling. So I absolutely love going to, South by, to Summit, to Aspen Ideas Fest. There's just on and on, all these incredible conferences where I just like soak up the information and start to like make connections within the industries that I serve as well.
Right.
And then also, speaking of the different industries, like I work across industries.
Right.
And I'm always, talking about those trends, like seeing how everybody always feels like they're kind of alone in their problem that they have.
Yep.
But we have the opportunity to look across industries. You can recognize that everybody really has very similar problems.
They do.
And you can learn from so many, we can learn from different clients and bring those kind of not the secrets.
Right.
Not the confidential
Not
stuff.
the stuff you don't need.
But, this is, a story that,
this is something that might be good to share.
Right.
Yep. Let's get it out there.
Something that might be good to share. So, I'm constantly inspired by other, people, studies, trends, nature.
Yeah.
Well, I think that artist jobs are being replaced.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the repetitive job, it's just our repetitive jobs are being replaced. We're kind of like in a new industrial revolution, but it's called AI.
Right.
So I do personally see it as a tool that we can use for our creativity. I also think that the choices that we make today are really, 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 really important because they're going to shape what happens in the next 1 to 5 to 10 years.
Right.
Like
for sure.
The ethics around it are really important and can be problematic. with that aside, knowing that I think there's ethics we need to take into consideration. There are, things to be concerned about, but it also, just like Photoshop was to photography.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It can be a tool for creativity. It can also be a tool as a thought partner.
Right.
I said earlier, like, I feel like there's a pretty heavy swing coming back to having visualization in person.
Yeah.
Is coming back. And I think, if we even look, we're looking to the future and we swing way back to the past.
Yeah.
And we think about our ancestors, like, we may be here today because we learned visually.
Right.
We may be here today because we were able to take charcoal on the wall of a cave and create warnings of,
The symbols.
What to avoid when we're out, in the fields, or like what kind of antelope or deer or whatever was out there that we're able to bring back to feed our families. So I think it's in our DNA.
Right.
It is in our DNA.
It
visual,
is.
Visual storytelling's in our DNA.
Yep.
And I would like to believe that that's not going to go away.
Right.
But we might have different ways of sharing it and telling it.
Right. But you still need to have the emotional tie behind it. And I think that's one thing that there's a lot of, of the way things are going, you lose that emotional touch. It's just, let's just get it out there quick and be done with it. But that doesn't tell the big story.
Right. And I think also that there is a lot of science behind just putting pen to paper and doodling yourself.
Yeah.
Or writing something out, like a handwritten note. And like you're talking about meditation. And oftentimes, like, I will get so immersed in the work that I'm doing, like drawing something out visually, that I kind of forget time and space. And it just becomes this meditation. Like, after an hour, you're like, oh, wow, I made that. And then also, and like with the meditation, I've actually done, we've all got these devices, not all of us, but, I have a device that kind of measures my heart rate and biorhythms and such. And I've, on my own personal studies, like, it's not, personally, I've looked at, like, what are the rhythms and the measurements that I have when I'm deep in meditation.
Right.
And then when I'm actually drawing and putting pen to paper and making these marks. And they were not dissimilar.
Really?
So there's other studies that have come out of MIT. They're actually researching multitasking.
Yes.
And of course we know that is not very possible.
Right.
You can't do it well anyway.
Yep.
But while they were looking at multitasking, they found that if you were doing something active, like drawing, it dramatically reduced your ability to be afraid of something in the future. So it basically brought you into the present moment, and it, started to adjust, it started to bring this calm and this peace and reducing anxiety.
Nice.
So I think, when we're talking about emotion, it's, not only seeing it being created, but it's also lighting up the parts of our brain that are creating that calming in ourselves as well.
Which is interesting, but you think back to when kids are young and what they like, let's journal, but draw the pictures, instead of, you can't get the words out. Let's show how you feel,
Absolutely.
Boom, like, there it is. Like, let's bring out the colors, bring out the stuff that makes you happy, or show it, or, different ways to communicate visually as well, which I think is great for everybody. Doesn't matter what age you are, to really just hone in on that and show what's important.
Yes, there is a book that's called Presidential Doodles, and it shows a history of doodling of our presidents.
Wow.
And how it was, they would use it to not only like maybe bring themselves into the present moment through their doodling on their briefs and such, but also as a way to like express an idea.
Yep.
That might be harder to understand if it's just written text or verbally communicated.
Or to think what the mind is thinking while they're saying what they're reading, or while there's a very stressful moment. What are you doodling? Like, what does that all mean? And how does that, like, once you see that, once your time has passed and you're past that speech or past wherever you're at, if you go back and take a look at that picture, it might be like, wow, like that really meant something. That's going to bring me back to that moment.
Yeah, and it doesn't even, for the memory retention and for the focus, it doesn't need to be something that's literal.
Right.
It can just be squiggles on a page.
Yep.
It can be circles, triangles, squares, whichever, it doesn't have to be something. It can just be mark making. And that helps to increase the memory retention and the focus and the, calming effects.
So we have a book here. Let's talk a little bit about this. Draw Your Big Idea.
Yes. It's co-written with Nora Hurting. And so Draw Your Big Idea is a book of 100+ exercises that visual exercises that we have brought to our clients.
Nice.
So over the course of my 20 years, I've worked with 30% of the Fortune 50 companies, oftentimes with their leadership teams.
Yeah.
And they, folks at IDEO or Google or, Adidas here locally at Target, people would say like, hey, can you come in and help make our meetings a little bit more creative? We're like, sure. How much latitude do we have?
Well, what do I have to play with? What can I bring to it? Yeah.
I know. So that's basically the foundation of what's in this book is like all of these, looking back at what are the different creative exercises that we've brought into leadership teams, like during their strategy meetings, during their innovation sessions, during their brainstorming meetings, when they are mapping out, their road to success and milestones and action items, all that good stuff. Looking back and saying like, what did we bring to that? And then, this is one of my favorite ones. It's like, what keeps you up at night?
Oh, yeah.
I could have used this last night when I was
sure.
like, write down, like, is there something I can do? Is this something I can't do?
My mind's going and it's just not shutting off.
Right.
Yep.
So with this book, we, really looked at, it's targeted towards intra and entre and wantrapreneurs.
Yes, right. And every other preneur that's out there.
So anybody who wants to launch an idea, whether it's like, throwing a community, oh no, I'm losing the words right now.
That's okay.
A gathering in your neighborhood gathering, or, launching a conference.
Right.
There are 10 steps that you can move through in this book, and it helps you approach it visually. So it doesn't feel overwhelming that you have to sit in front of a computer and type everything out. Right. You can start to draw and doodle and write it out first, and then that acts as a first iteration.
Nice. So very cool.
Yeah. And exciting. It starts out with some of that, you mentioned meditating, and it's like, there is like a personal, like, where is your personal why?
Right.
What is your that's why? Where we start with, I think, just being part of Coalition 9 and Hatch is like so much about like, what is your why?
Absolutely.
What is your purpose?
And
where do you find meaning?
A lot of the people out there these days are just driving towards that. Like you've got to have a purpose in life and something that you can fall back on too. Yep.
Absolutely. So there's all sorts of exercises. I actually have a course that I teach that's called, I just forgot what it's called. I got so excited.
Website, yes. Yeah.
Well, I have one that's the art of listening. Nice. And so there's exercises in here around, how do you listen differently? Mm-hmm. And then also visual strategies to beat burnout.
Right.
So it's like, how do we beat burnout? And there's a lot of different exercises in here that can help you, find that meaning and purpose in your work, mapping out values either as an individual or as a team. Mm-hmm. And then, also a lot around prioritization. Like, how do we prioritize what's really going to have a big impact and communicate that to our teams in a meaningful way that we can all like support one another?
Absolutely, which is really important. So when you are doing all your doodling, and do you ever do anything that has to do with your life and do your own storyline and kind of your own picture to kind of record what's going on in your room and your own daily life?
I don't. Right. I don't do that.
You got to separate the two.
I don't do that. I don't, well, I don't know if that's necessarily true. I haven't done it for a long time, but I do have a journaling practice. Mm-hmm. So I usually wake up most days and journal for 10 to 20 minutes just to like clean my brain out.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I guess at different phases of my life that has been drawing as well. I also have it literally is a doodling practice. I make lots and lots of circles. So I have like a fine art practice as well that I use as like a, decompressing and calming down at the end of the day. But so I guess like for me personally, I don't map that out, but I have some really beautiful examples of mapping it out for other folks.
Nice.
Yeah.
So when you've been doing some of the mapping adventures and mapping quests that you've been on, have there been any that just really hit home and you're like, this is really just an amazing one? Like, this is really just something that strikes you as one that you won't ever forget?
I think there are many that I have, but I will, I have 3 that are in mind right now, but I'll share the first one that I thought of first.
Perfect.
So we were talking about personal storytelling.
Yep.
And I've done a little bit of that, but they have been really, really powerful, impactful. So one that I'm thinking of right now, which I can share a link with you afterwards,
that'd be great.
Is for Jarrett Reed. And he is an executive or a leader over at Target. And so we met at a networking event in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Hey,
we're here.
I know. I was chatting with him like, oh, this guy's really awesome and cool. And he's like, oh, well, please excuse me, I have to go. And I'm like, okay, no problem. And then he goes up and he's like the keynote speaker. I was like,
okay.
I guess I should have.
Yep. Guess I'm getting in front of the right person.
Looked at the biopics before I got here. But anyway, he is an incredible leader. He's so passionate about his work, and he has a really rich history that makes him who he is.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I love about Jarrett and getting to know him is that he really, if he was sitting here, maybe he would disagree, but I see in him this, one of the things that he values so much as a leader is that he helps to empower other people and help them shine and helps them find their meaning and purpose and bring that into the work that you do every single day.
Which is important.
Like not leave it at home, but just incorporate it. So he really wanted a way to tell his story and empower people through storytelling.
Yeah.
So we set up a 90-minute coaching session, and I learned all about like his early childhood and the values that his grandmother taught him, and some of the first early entrepreneurial experiences that he had, and the motivation and the drive that he had, and always, and then on through his college, where he went to college and his first jobs and his like career.
Try to get the whole picture.
His entire career being at Target Corporation, and then where he wanted to go in the future. And when we first met, he really just wanted to do that first, we did a 3-panel series, and he just wanted to do that first series. Like, I just really want to tell people where my values are coming from and like what's the source and the
history
core.
And the source of who I am.
Right. And how all of these tiny little interactions, these tiny moments in his childhood influence who he is today and who he is as a leader.
Right.
So we did that, and then it was like, oh, it might be really nice to have like a visual resume so I can inspire folks like with my story. And so we did the visual resume. And then just through our chatting, I recognized that he had a much bigger plan and a much bigger idea of where he wanted to go.
Nice.
So we created a 3rd panel, which was of his future, like where the future state, and like
Have the roadmap to take it.
Having a roadmap to get there, like through mentorship and milestones. And so it was something that was such a gift for me to recognize this like through line of everything that he'd experienced in his lifetime, what makes him truly the great leader that he is.
Yep.
And then also giving him the gift of just like reflecting back what I heard in his story of where he wants to go. So that's a 3-panel illustration that we did for his life that he uses in keynote presentations. He shared it on LinkedIn. He shares it with his team, as I understand, on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And actually he used it to apply for a new leadership position in Target, and I was happy to say that he got it. So that was a really cool project, and just integrating all these, we were talking about listening to people's stories and like some of those side conversations. Like there's when you look at it, there's a crane that flies, that's in every single panel, and that, I hope he's okay with me sharing this. It's represents like the spirit of his grandmother and what his grandmother taught him. Wow. So you'll see it in the first panel as a pin, and then in the second panel, it's just like, it looks like decoration. And in the third panel, it's soaring to the summit of his goal. And he can choose to tell that story, or he can choose to leave it out.
And he just knows it's there. Yep.
Right. So when we're capturing these really important moments as a visual, it's an anchor for a story that you can choose to tell it, or you can choose to just have it be part of the environment, the visual environment that you're creating.
Just because it's present and it's in the present moment. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just love that project, and I love that it, had a happy ending of him like getting the new leadership position that he wanted.
Yeah.
And that he's able to use it in so many ways.
Do you find that once, or have you had any obstacles when you've presented and done your work that people are like, hey, this isn't what we expected, or this isn't what we want? Or do they do background work and know coming into it your art piece and what you're going to bring to it and how it's going to help them grow in the long run?
Yeah, it's a very collaborative, thanks for asking that question. Yeah. It's a very collaborative process. So, for example, with this, for the 3-panel illustration that I just referred to, we went in and, we pretty much have a similar process every time, is that we have an intake moment. It's probably not dissimilar to what you do with your clients as well. Like we really want to learn, like, again, like what are the goals and objectives that they have? What do we want to achieve? And like whatever information we can gather. Sometimes that's pictures. Sometimes it's a, coaching session.
Let's get the background.
Sometimes
get
it's
the heart
like,
of it.
just give me the 10 pages of the PowerPoint and we will just communicate over email. It really depends on the, what the client needs.
Right.
And then it's a very iterative process throughout. Like the backbone of like everything I do is collaboration.
Right.
So we'll do a sketch or two from what we heard, get that approval. Then we do a black and white sketch. It's an iterative process all the way through. So 2 or 3 iterations until the final.
How much do you see that has grown, like after you've gone and done one presentation, to get that callback, that word of mouth of like, let's do the next phase, like you were explaining with him, like let's do, the next board, let's make this a 3-panel, let's make this a 4-panel. Do you see that a lot of times, or do you kind of have more of just we've incorporated the keynote and then on to the next? Yeah.
Well, oftentimes folks will see us doing the graphic recording at a conference, or, we were talking about the associations.
Yeah.
So I call that my Trojan unicorn.
Yep.
Because I'm like, it's really sparkly and fun. And I mean, not literally sparkly, but people are so excited to see the conversation come to life and like these.
Like, what is this happening? Yeah.
Right. And then we get to have the conversation about, where do you need more innovation and creativity in your work life?
Right.
Where do you need to, simplify some complex ideas? Where do you need to bring more, really start to tell the story? Right. So that's when it starts to open up of like, maybe we can use you in an innovation session or, visual strategy session. Then oftentimes we'll do the session summary,
right?
And which is where I can't wait to work with you guys to start to bring these to life onto people's walls.
Absolutely.
So we'll take that digital image that might be created in that session summary, in the innovation session or the visual strategy workshop. We'll create that illustration, which then can become the vinyl or the the wallpaper.
Let's make this full
immersive.
Yeah.
See yourself in the picture.
Here's all the different proofs and wow. Yep.
So we can do that, and then once it's a digital image, you can use it
anywhere and everywhere.
Over the place.
Yep.
And then sometimes they'll take that, like, how do we turn this into something interactive and even more engaging? So we'll also do animated videos.
Nice.
So sometimes that comes in, and we've got like really great examples from HPE, like Hewlett Packard, and how we started out exactly all that.
Here's the recording, and here's the picture, and here's where I got to do each part.
Yeah,
Yes.
those are my dream clients. I will
Right?
let you
I
know.
know.
So if you have any of those folks
For sure.
want to go on the full
And they're
journey with
listening,
me.
Yep. Let's do it.
Yeah, I love that. I
Yes.
love when people are able to really like go deeper and deeper and deeper with the work and find more value
Well, it's
in
fun
it.
to see not just the value, but like honing in on the little parts, the background conversations, the water cooler conversations that you don't know are happening. And it's like, that really is a moment in itself that you don't always know that it's happening. Yeah. And how people take it. What do you see for the future? What do you think's next? Or where do you want to go, or what do you want to do?
Thanks for asking.
Mm-hmm.
This year, there's a lot happening, like in our world, in our businesses, and I've decided that I really want to focus in on the graphic recording and the graphic facilitation, which is at the core root of how I serve. So I really want to bring that into the communities here in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And let people know that we're here to help, clarify those complex ideas in this complex time that we're living in, like mapping out, like how do we reconfigure our strategy with all the changes that are happening? How do we bring, help people know that they're valued and that they're understood and heard. So that is my primary focus this year.
Yeah.
I also have been doing a lot of speaking engagements around like the art of listening. And then I mentioned earlier the visual strategies to beat burnout.
Yep.
And I think that will always be there. But for now, I'm really focusing on the graphic recording and, getting into some of these strategy sessions, these innovation sessions, and helping people to think differently and connect around some of these commonalities when there's so many differences that we're experiencing
Because
right
they can all, from the outside in or the inside out, all connect. And they all do come from what's within.
And, I really just want to make that the important focus right now is connecting people through the visuals. And then if the other stuff continues to go, that's great.
Yeah.
But that's where my focus is this year.
With all your focuses happening here in Minnesota and having a daughter that's 8 and being creative, what do you see? Is she picking up any of the creativeness, or what is her little niche right now that you can kind of see that's fun?
She's outrageously creative in her own personal storytelling. Like she will just be completely immersed in her own imaginary world for hours.
Amazing. Yeah.
Which is fascinating. I think that she's allergic to markers and crayons and paint.
Okay. Get out the colored pencils then. We're good.
I asked her last night, I'm like, Pira, what are you, when you're at school, what is the subject that you finish before anybody else does?
Yeah.
So we have parent-teacher conferences,
Right.
so I want
For
to know,
sure.
like
what's your gift and what are you speeding through?
And she's like, art, definitely art, because she just does not. She is the opposite of Liam and I. Like she just wants to tell stories and be in the
storyteller.
story.
Yep. She could have the recording part of it. Like, I'm going to be the speaker while you guys do your artwork.
Yeah. Yep. And she also loves science, and she was memorizing pi last night. So she's working on memorizing the 100 digits of pi.
Yep. You never know. And it's one of
those
those little things, like she's going to be out cramming in numbers and doing the engineering, the back engineering of why everybody's doing what they're doing, and explaining it as you guys are just doing your artwork and trying to figure it all out.
Yeah, right.
Yes, and it's fun to see like growth as a child and where their mind goes for sure, because every day is something new for sure.
Yeah, I love it.
How does she ever go along, or does she get to see you guys when you're in action doing your work?
She does, not so often for me. She thinks that I just sit at the computer and look stressed all the time.
That's true. Yep.
And Liam has the fun job where he gets to paint.
He gets to actually paint and get it all out there, right?
We both have our studios in the home, and mine is mostly sitting at the computer, and then I go out and
I
work
go
with
out and
clients.
do the actual work.
So she doesn't see the work that we do outside of it all.
Well, it'd be interesting to see, like, as a child's, like, having her explain what her parents do and be like, my mom sits at a computer, my dad's an artist. Like,
Yeah.
it's yeah.
That is. Dad gets to paint things and mom she like
Types away. Yep.
Mimes me typing.
Right. And then one day she'll be like, wait, mom wasn't just typing.
I know.
Let's see all the cool things she's doing, Yeah. What do you think for the way children are expressing themselves and getting out there in the art world that it's going to go in the future?
Oh, well, I am excited to, I haven't put a lot of thought specifically around this.
Right.
We try really hard to get her off screens as much as possible.
Yeah.
Like I know that technology is the future. We're not going to avoid it, but I'm like, right now I just want her to be in nature and connected and conversation and making food and
doing all the
tactile things as much as possible. But I am very excited. Like the first talk that I, way back when I launched this as a business, the conversation was about the importance of gaming in children's lives. And that was in 2009. Yeah. And hearing now, like even just stories of people talking or their origin stories of where they are in like technology, it's because they were, they're playing these games and they're picking up these different modalities of thinking and working and building in that virtual space and bringing that into the workplace. So I think that I think when I was a child, it was like, oh, you're just wasting your time.
Yeah. What are you doing? Yeah.
Playing video games, but it's really important for problem solving.
Yep.
And so I think that, I don't know, that's just going to become, it's neat to see it being important in, having that, the gaming mindset and how that's advancing technology, like in businesses.
It's so super creative. I mean, you think even back in the day, like this is going to age me, but Tetris and putting the pieces together to make the line. And then you get into like the Fortnite now where they're building things and they're doing all that. And there's
also, I think there's problems with like it being online and having open communities online. It's problematic, but I think it's also something that's very, very interesting and beautiful as well. Like, a message that I keep hearing over and over again is that like loneliness is an epidemic. It's like we are at an all-time high of reporting loneliness, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that way.
No.
Like we're connecting in person, but we can also connect online. And I think having the kids like meet up with their friends and
go out and do something with people. Yeah.
We'll go out and physically do it, but also like there's something really beautiful about the communities that they're building virtually as well. And like they're building together and they're working together. And my daughter and her best friend, who is like 8, Pyrrha's 8, and her best friend is, I think, 10. Her best friend's in Brooklyn. Pyrrha's here in Minnesota. And so they've created their own game of like emojis that they play
fun.
like all the time through FaceTime, like almost every night.
Yep.
And they're still like best friends and have these really complex relationships with these different characters that they've built all through just using emojis on the FaceTime.
Right. Well, and you don't know, like it's teaching you how to communicate with everybody too. I mean, just having that I'm able to communicate with people from not around the world, but all different age groups and everything to come together to have one solid story. Like and then to maybe sometime down the road have that opportunity to go meet that person. Like, okay, I'm going to go to China or I'm going to go to Egypt or wherever it may be because I've known this person all my life on this game and we've created so much emotion, even though you don't physically see it. You know it's there.
Yeah, the world is getting smaller and smaller.
It is.
And our knowledge is expanding and expanding.
Yep.
There's so much opportunity.
There is. And just the opportunities you have to be creative and do what you love and have a why and just keep finding what's important in your own life and keep moving forward, I think is a big thing for a lot of people to really just be able to emphasize it too.
And I think also like one of the things we touched on too is just like making the choices that we make today are really going to influence where we are tomorrow.
Right.
So being really grounded in your why, like being really grounded in your values and taking action from that place, I think is more important than ever.
Well, I think to add to that as well is to be who you are. That's the biggest thing, because you don't want to lose yourself in going after something that's not you or your values or who you are, to always just make sure that that comes across as one of the purposes that you have in life too. Yes. Well, how can people find you, and what would be some great ways for them to get a hold of you if they wanted to?
Yes. Well, you can always visit me over on our website, which is twolinestudios.com. We have,
In case they didn't see it visually.
Yep. So also right now, I think for the next couple weeks, I don't know when this will go out, but I have all of the visual notes that we took at South by Southwest a couple weeks ago are available. So if you sign up for a newsletter, it should be pretty easy to find the way to do it once you get to the website. You can immediately download the 16 talks of like the latest trends from South by Southwest, captures visuals. And then we also have links to the actual talk,
the recording
as well. So you can watch the recording as well.
Very cool.
So those are two great places. I'm also on LinkedIn all the time. Just joined Blue Sky.
Yeah.
Two Line Studios, at Two Line Studios on LinkedIn, at Heather Willems on LinkedIn.
And your book, where can they find that?
You can come on over to our website, and there's a link right to that under resources.
There you go.
So,
well, we appreciate having you on today. We look forward to the future and can't wait to have you on again to see where all you're going in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would love that. I can't wait to bring more of this into the community.
Yeah,
Thank you
just help
so
give
much.
back. Yes. Thank you so much for being here.